Yeah, coming to Civilsdaily, I enrolled in majorly two courses at different stages of the preparation. So one was the Smash Mains program that I enrolled in which there were like 12 uh, tests, 12 tests, and each subject has like three tests, right? Each GS paper. And the second, for the interview stage, I again enrolled in the interview guidance program. So starting from the mains test series, what I found most useful was the pinpoint feedback that Sajal sir gave me. Especially we had that after he checked my copy, we had that 1 hour call after each and every paper, and there I used to ask him what needs to be written, whether what I have written is correct or not, what can be improved. So this was the iterative process that I would say that helped me improve my marks from one test series to from one test to other test.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civils Daily.
Welcome to Unheard Civils Daily's Topper Stock series for the year 2020. And I have with me Divyansh Singh, who has scored rank 425, and this is his serious second attempt. So, Divyansh, congratulations for your amazing feat that you have achieved.
Thank you very much.
So, Divyansh, since I can see that you've been an out-and-out performer in your academics before came into services, you were an IIT Tech grad, computer science mein. Then you got into Microsoft. You were a software engineer there. How organic did you think about this services administration, that too into government, from a tech field, a computer field? How easy it was for you?
Uh, Basically, the transition was, I would say, not at all easy. I took a lot of time in deciding what I want to do next. So one thing was for sure that I did not like my job at that point, and I found it to be a little monotonous, not something that I wanted to continue for long term. So eventually, I was looking for exit options anyways. So I considered two or three options. One was MBA, second was to go for research, and third was the civil services and joining government services. So by actually weighing pros and cons of all the three, and my sort of inclination to work for the society and to create an impact on our country, and this is how I decided to go out for civil services. So I would say that my transition has not been something that I thought of it in my childhood or in my college, but I would say it was mainly there because of my not liking my job very much.
Now, since at Civils Daily, we get a lot of queries, or a number of aspirants do join us. Those who want to join us, they are from working background, professional background. So, I mean, this question becomes all the more relevant because you're also working someplace, right? Before you quit it completely and thought of joining in services.
Hmm.
Now, how did you manage your time with respect to studying for this coveted exam? How easy was it for you to collect information and make appropriate changes with respect to your preparation?
Yeah, from a job point of view, I think there are two questions that I usually hear. One is that is it possible to actually complete the course of civil services without quitting the job, or when you should decide whether to quit a job or not. So let me answer them one by one. So for me, I found it really difficult to continue with the job because the syllabus is vast and it requires a substantial amount of time to be devoted, and that I did not find it suitable to continue with my job. And this is the reason I resigned, and then I started my preparation. So, and the second question is whether you should really quit your job or not. So, what I would say is to have an idea, to read the syllabus, to read some basic books, and just to have an idea of the syllabus of what is being demanded in the UPSC exam. If you think that you are interested in that direction, if you think that this is something that you really wanted to do, then maybe you can take a decision to quit your job like I did. So before quitting my job for 5 or 6 months, I actually decided to read some of the basic books like Lakshmikant or some of the NCERTs, and then when I felt comfortable that yes, and when I made the decision, okay, and now I want to really quit and prepare for UPSC, that is the point when I decided to put in my papers. So I would say that if you're because of the random nature of the examination that has become in these latest years, I would advise you to be very sure whether you want to quit or not. And once you make the decision, I would ask you to resign and prepare for the exam wholeheartedly.
Now that clarifies, to many aspirants, like those who are willing to, sort of keep their career aspirations aside and come into services, and they need to prepare for it as well, right? Because it really becomes a cumbersome job unless you have some mentor to guide you about like how you need to go and take care of the syllabus. Your preparations need to be, mainstreamed every single time you're, weighing apart. Now, in addition to that, I could see that you were, able to clear your prelims in the first attempt. You
Hmm.
wrote your mains, and in the second attempt as well, you could clear your prelims. Now, what did you do special, or how did you manage to, get hold of right information? How did you manage to solve papers? Like, what was your strategy with respect to prelims that you could clear it on both the occasions?
So I think my strategy was very simple. I think that has been iterated again and again on Civilsdaily itself. So the strategy was very basic. So one, I tried to cover all the static material that is there, and secondly, to solve as many papers as I could. So so both of these actually have their own utilities. So first, I need to cover static to answer questions, and once I became comfortable in static, then I started solving papers. So in the first attempt, I tried to solve almost around 30-35 papers, so not much by some what some people do, but I thought that uh, 30 to 35 papers is the minimum that you need to solve in your first attempt. In your subsequent attempts, if you feel more comfortable with the questions and you have that elimination technique that we talk about it again and again, then maybe you can actually reduce the number of papers that you do. And so what solving papers does is that it actually gives you that intuition to eliminate options, and that I found is the most important and useful thing that is out there for prelims. Once you develop that intuition, or once you develop how to eliminate, let's say, two or three options in a question, then things become much easier. Even though if you don't know the question properly, even if you lack somewhat in static, you can still solve a majority of the questions. And for that, for me, for that, practice is very important.
Yes, yes. Actually, the thing is that most of the aspirants, those who are into civil services, this competition, they go by following some standard books. So this is
Mhm.
not just about following standard books. You have to do these parallel studies as well, because
Mhm.
the entire janta which is into UPSC preparation, they have got these books mugged up all throughout. So Lakshmikant har koi pad raha hai.
Mhm.
These books everybody is going through. So how to connect pieces of current affair with your these static areas is something that you have to look at
Yeah.
simultaneously, right? This is
Mhm.
very important.
Yeah.
uh,
I think this connection actually comes from the papers, right? So unless and until you solve papers, you
Absolutely.
won't be able to make that connections.
Right.
So sometimes we also see in UPSC that they use both the static and the current sort of knowledge in the same question itself. So unless and until you have that elimination technique, unless and until you solve papers, you won't be able to connect these two things in the
So,
examination.
so in a way, question papers help you build that perspective that you may not get from reading the books only. So the more number of question papers you solve, you tend to touch upon those many different kinds of perspective around a same topic. So that way it helps you to build that. Similarly, on the similar line, mains may be ऐसा ही होता है. We see that even in the mains question paper, UPSC has been asking questions lately, transcending the content from both static and dynamic, right? The current affair. What was your strategy with respect to mains? How could you develop, compared to how it was last year to this year?
Hmm. Uh, so my strategy for mains was again not was very simple, not I would say not nothing extraordinary per se. So what I did was that I picked each and every topic from the syllabus itself. So the UPSC has given us a very elaborate syllabus in which they have mentioned what topics do they want us to focus on. So I actually picked up one topic and then actually prepared notes on it, took help of the materials that is there online. Nothing. I did not refer any. I would say any static books for making up my materials as such. I just researched online, So for example, let's say there is this topic of migration or regionalism, so enough plenty of material is available. You just need to actually prepare 1 or 2 pages notes for each and every topic, and then this was the sort of the static preparation of mine for me. And then again, I actually topped it up by solving or by writing answers, by solving question papers, as I said, right? Because see, ultimately UPSC is not going to give us marks for the knowledge itself. They are going to give us marks on what we have written on the paper, right? So the same goes with prelims. So they do not, they are not bothered about of how much you know. They are bothered about how much can you actually solve in a given uh, time. So especially for mains, it also happens in that way. They are not bothered about how many books have you referred, how many static material do you know, how well you are able to connect, let's say, things A or B. What matters is that how much are you able to produce in a very restricted amount of time. And to do that, you need to have extensive preparation. I mean, even much more than prelims. For mains, when I actually wrote my first mains, I still remember that I had to leave 2 or 3 questions, and which is really bad as in terms of my chances for selection. So these are small things which people tend to overlook, or they tend to realize very late in their preparation, like because the answer writing is all there is in mains. Once you have covered the static portion, once you know what the basic issue is, but when you start writing answers, you tend to see where the problem lies. Even if you know the answer, it's not necessarily possible for you to to jot down that information in just 6 minutes and to complete that answer. So I think this is the major or the most important part of the the preparation, is to write answers and to have that framework in mind, so that you can not write just one answer but write 20 answers in 3 hours of time.
So, how Civilsdaily help you in your entire preparation?
uh, Yeah, coming to Civilsdaily, I enrolled in majorly two courses at different stages of the preparation. So one was the Smash Mains program that I enrolled in which there were like 12 uh, tests, 12 tests, and each subject has like 3 tests, right? Each year's paper. And the second, for the interview stage, I again enrolled in the interview guidance program. So starting from the mains test series, what I found most useful was the pinpoint feedback that Sajal sir gave me. Especially we had that after he checked my copy, we had that 1 hour call after each and every paper, and there I used to ask him what needs to be written, whether what I have written is correct or not, what can be improved. So there he provided me sort of suggestions on each and every questions, what can be written and what did he saw in copies that scored better than mine. So this was the iterative process that I would say that helped me improve my marks from one test series to from one test to other test. So this was the main part, and the second part was the interview guidance part, and there actually I took the help of the Civilsdaily mentor to fill in my DAF properly. And actually I had filled in some of the outdated information in my DAF in the hobbies which were not required, and that was pointed out to me by the mentor. And secondly, then I took the mock interviews where again I got the feedback of the areas I need to improve, and the things that I could do to improve myself. Yeah. So these were
Okay,
the sort of the programs that I took from
one
Civilsdaily.
question that I'm intrigued to ask is like this thing happened everything I guess on phone.
Yeah, yeah.
How easy do you think this process was compared to the offline mentoring or offline coaching?
For me, see, for me, the process was not at all difficult. I would say, like, what I used to do was to open my paper on my laptop and then go question by question and ask the judge, sir, if I faced any difficulties or not. So even though the communication was through telephone, but I could see the answers on my laptop, and that eventually helped quite a bit. And mostly Sajal sir also had my paper, so there was no miscommunication per se, because he was seeing my paper, I was seeing my paper. It's just that we were connecting through the airport.
I guess this also betters the previously or conventional way of teaching, wherein you tend to be sitting around like 400, 500 students, where you don't get that special individual attention. So from that perspective as well, I guess this would have helped you more, because on call it is just you and him, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, so what happened in the some of the earlier test series that I took in other coaching institute was this was the lack of that pinpoint feedback. So first of all, there what happens is that a lot of people check my copies, so there is no consistency in checking copies. So on one instance, examiner would give you marks that is more than what you deserve. On the other end, some other examiner will give you marks less than what you deserve. So what happens when you have the same teacher, actually he or she can comment on your progress as well. So there I could not eventually find out whether I've improved from my first test or to the 12th test or not. Here what you see is that, okay, so I can see that the sir gave me this feedback, now he has not given me this feedback, that means that I have improved in this direction. So that has now been improved. So this was, I think, was the major thing that I found sort of excellent in Civilsdaily, that I can actually measure up my success by discussing it with the with such as.
Divyansh, you also mentioned about ethics. How was that help provided, and how and why do you feel that this year's ethics paper was much better than previous year papers so far as your presentation was concerned?
So in ethics, actually, the issue comes like there is no standard book for ethics per se. People earlier used to refer lexicon, but more or less that has now become outdated as per the recent UPSC papers. So in ethics, what matters most is same with prelims, is practice. How many questions? The more the number of questions that you'll write, the more the number of marks that you're going to get. And while writing these answers in ethics, you need an ethical sort of way of writing those answers. You cannot just use your lingo of GS 1 2 3 and write ethical answers. So you need to have that ethical mindset, or you need to use those terms, like for example, dereliction of duty, collective conscience, and these are the sort of terms that if you write, I mean, it actually is important for the presentation, for the good presentation of your answer. So these were the sort of feedback that I would say was pointed out to me by Civilsdaily, by Sukanya ma'am. And actually, she took the first paper that I wrote of ethics, and she took in half an hour, 1.5 hour session of mine, and then she explained what needs to be done, how I need to open up case studies, and what should be my approach in case studies, what needs to be written, and how to actually frame that ethical answer. It should not sound as though I'm writing a GS 1 2 3 sort of an answer. So this
So,
was the, I would say, the
Divyansh, in a way, I can understand that you are not only jubilant, you're very measured as well. The moment you speak, what you need to write, how you need to write, you remember all the feedbacks that were given to you. You're only 27, right?
yeah, yeah.
You've got attempts left. What is
Mhm.
your strategy for this year's preparation for UPSC 2021?
For this year, again, the basics are exactly the same. So I mean, this is a boon and a bane as well. So for example, if if you are doing
You are
things,
appearing, na?
yeah, I'm appearing. It's just that the, as I said, the basics would be the same, to write as much as I can, to actually refer to first to complete the static ones properly, and to write as many tests as I can, and to sort of evaluate myself uh, with this year's question papers, and from the past year's question papers. And again, as I said, it's an iterative process. You improve from test to test, so there is no sort of leap that you can take from just from 90 to 120 or 110. So my focus would be to write as much as I can, since I have appeared for UPSC twice, seriously twice now. So I have that static build up with me, and I will just actually revise it quickly, and then just start writing answers.
So, Divyansh, during this COVID time, since your preparation was mostly around this COVID time, a lot of mental health and these emotional health issues and stresses were encountered. Did you also face some kind of problem like this, or if you face, how did you manage it?
Uh, yeah, certainly. So actually, what happens with COVID is that, let's say in 2020, when the result were declared in August, right? So as you can say, for the whole year of 2020, I did not have a job with me. So this level of uncertainty is there with UPSC, and I think this is one of the worst parts of the examination. I actually put a well paid job, and then when I came for UPSC, and I was like waiting for 2 and 3 years uh, without a rank, and especially COVID has also delayed the phases of the examination. So mental health issues do crept up. There are no questions about it. So people actually question themselves, they question their preparation. And first of all, UPSC does not even disclose our marks, so we don't even know where we stand. These are the things that are always there. So for to cope with such issues, I think what I did was to take a measured stance. I actually at myself, and so what needs to be done, what are the things that keep me happy. So during the COVID phase, I actually did not focus. I would say I actually devoted 50% of my time to studies and 50% on the activities that I like. So I would say to counter mental health issues, one needs to be very sort of flexible in their approach. So if, let's say, if you're studying, if you're not do not like what you're studying, it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to take go out once in a while. If it's okay to go on a trip, it's not like you're losing out on something, especially with respect to the prelims that we are seeing in 2021, in 2020. I mean, even if you don't know much, it does not matter, right? So eventually the questions are there with um, the questions are there from various sources. Let's say, even if you do not study for 2 or 3 days, it won't matter much. So my
It is more
advice,
like you take care of your mental health. The other aspects of your psychic presence will take care of the question paper.
yeah, exactly. So with respect to the mental health as well, I think you need to ask yourself, right, at what stage you are. So sometimes people deny that there are mental health issues with them, so they need to be very open about themselves. So and sometimes
Acknowledging the problem is more important here.
acknowledging the problem, and secondly, sometimes they're at a stage where they need psychological help as well. So let's say you have a mental breakdown, it's not easy to solve it on your own. So you need to seek a therapist, you need to seek a psychiatrist, where you can actually speak about your problems and let them know what issues you are facing. So I feel that there is this stigma about mental health in India, that people usually do not refer to these therapists and psychiatrists, and this is what is more important. So there are
Now,
some mental health.
Divyansh, I also noticed one thing, that
Mhm,
most of the time when people had these problems of isolated study during COVID specifically, when they were not able to talk to anybody, they do not have peer groups, they do not know where to go and seek help from. Even if there is a scope of improvement, an area of improvement that they are able to find out, they do not know how to improve. Now, in
mhm,
these situations, the roadblocks of communication, if that could have been opened properly, like our mentors, I could just give you example of how we did and how we tried to solve this problem, because we had a number of occasions where our mentors were able to speak to our students, right, our aspirants. This conversation between you and Sajal sir happened, and where he could guide you. Now, similar kind of conversations were happening at the backstage with respect to many other aspirants who are finding it difficult to even connect with one person who are into civil services. Now, this
mhm.
mentoring aspect that helped them bring back to normalcy and get mainstreamed with respect to the preparation of UPSC civil services has done tremendously well with respect to how we provided our services this time. So this has, to a certain extent, been an eliminator of mental stress and emotional stress issue, because people were able to weigh them where they stand. उनकी preparation कहाँ हो रही है? So I just elaborated a bit on it because I felt that this mental health aspect is something where you need people to people support.
Exactly.
Isolation में,
Absolutely. Mhm.
so
Yeah, I mean, in isolation, it becomes all the more serious, because you
yes.
don't have anyone to talk to, and especially uh, when you are in Delhi, what happens is that you are surrounded with people with the same mindset that are preparing, so you can understand one person or the other. When you are actually preparing in isolation, this is what happens. Let's say you don't have the support of other students, or some of the people are lucky, they've actually formed a group of students. For them, I don't think it's a big issue. But people who are actually preparing in isolation, for them, if they face any issues, it becomes difficult. And certainly mentoring helps, and it actually alleviates their stress. It actually assures them to as to what needs to be done, and I think this can do wonders for the mental health. Yes.
Now, Divyansh, what was your optional and how did you leverage optional to get good marks?
Yeah, yeah. So optional, I would not say has been the highlight of my preparation. So my optional was chemistry, and I took it because I did my graduation in engineering, and I really liked chemistry when I was in college or before college as well. So I actually picked up my optional solely on the base of interest, and since science optional have usually good marking pattern as well, so I thought, why not go for it. So, but recently, what I have realized in chemistry, that it has become a little bit irrational, I would say, right? So there is no certainty that I would get good marks or not. So for me, I would say the optional has been a little picking up the optional has not been a very well informed decision, and the number of marks that I've received in optionals, I would not say that has helped me. So it has not actually eliminated me, but I would not say that it has helped me in getting a good rank as well, right? So if I have gotten good marks in the option, I would have selected last year itself. So my advice would be to pick a optional not just solely based on interest, not just solely based on your marks, but but based on these factors. So optional should be something that you are interested in, and secondly, it should be something that actually UPSC awards you marks as well. It's not like, let's say, if
It
you
adds
picked
into your preparation.
yeah. So it should be a healthy mix of both. So I always tend to get um, sort of advices on one end or the other, like you should pick your option solely based on the number of the marks that you can get, or either you should pick your option solely on the base of interest. But I would say a healthy mix of both of these two factors is very important.
So are you thinking to change your optional this time?
No, not possible. Actually, see, I would say that chemistry is not that bad. I mean, it's just that I won't ever score 2 320 330 in chemistry. So it's just that the ceiling is there. So I would say there is a low ceiling in chemistry. So people have gotten good ranks with chemistry as well. It's just that for me, it has not worked out so well. So, but since I have not much time with me, so changing an optional is not
You'll
a
continue with chemistry this time again.
yeah. I'm sticking up. Yeah.
Divyansh, many people, those who are appearing for this time, like you are doing it, and those who failed last time because of n number of reasons. Any piece of advice that changed you from from thinking and what perspective you thought failure as? Like there are many ways and perspective you can take a situation as. And you failed on the first occasion. How did you bounce back in the second one? And again, you are appearing for this exam. What is your perspective? Like how would you guide others, those who are into the same phase of preparation as you are in?
Uh, I would say that for me, failure for in the first attempt, I would say that I actually I had some issues with my preparation. So for example, the failure became a failure became an acceptance of my lack of preparation, right? Because since you have failed, and I could see where I failed, as I said, I actually left 2 or 3 questions in each paper. So it was nothing surprising for me that I sort of failed. So for me, failure actually became that the acceptance of problems that I had in my preparation, and actually from the failure, I took a message that I need to prepare more and and attempt again. For people who have done, let's say, eventually everything in their power, and then if they are failed, I would say that they need to actually again accept their failure, right? And they need to, as we discussed, they need to focus on their mental health, because success and failure all comes from the mental state of mind, right? For one person, failure can be a stepping stone for success. For another person, it can eventually lead to the mental breakdown. So I would say that they need to, if they feel very comfortable, very uncomfortable with their failures, and if they feel that there is nothing left after that, then they need to speak to people, they need to speak to therapists, they need to speak to psychiatrists to help them to figure out this phase uh, in their journey. And it is very important as well. So after failure, I mean, it's a very excruciating time. You need to actually pick yourself up and stand again. And a huge number of people are not able to do that because they again, as I said, there is a isolation is there, they don't get proper advice. So I would say that the first thing after failure, you should not actually lock out yourself from outside. You should actually seek advice, counsel from your mentors, from your friends, from the people who can advise you better, and then make a informed decision whether you want to continue with this preparation or not. For me, I really wanted to continue, and if people really want to quit, there is no shame in it as well, right? I mean, it's not like everybody should become an IAS officer or everybody should become an IPS officer. So both of these elements are there. First, you need to uh, seek counsel, and then decide objectively over to what you do need to do next. And once you make that decision, then stick with it. I mean, yes, failure is there, and especially with the randomness and with the type of examination or the luck factor that is there in.
Unpredictability.
Yeah, unpredictability is there with UPSC, so failure is always going to be an outcome, right? For me, if I can even fail for this attempt, I don't even know, right? So for me, there need to be a sort of people should keep in back of their mind that that they can eventually fail, right? Even if they do everything right. So this should be there in the back of their mind as well. So
They should
failure.
factor in failure as well.
Yeah. So failure is certainly an outcome in UPSC, given the unpredictability, right? So, I mean, this would be my advice.
So basically, it is about balancing your mental status, factoring in the different outcomes with respect to civil services. But if you're really into it, if you really see yourself as somebody, as you can see, right?
Mhm.
If you see yourself to be a budding, future star or future IS officer or future, successful person in your own way, you should be looking after that objective very, that success objective very keenly. You need to eliminate the noise and maybe march towards where you want to go, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, is it that I have seen some of the people, continuing with UPSC just because they want to, right? I mean, it's just that they are not studying, but they are just continuing with UPSC and failing again and again. So this should not be done. Once you make an objective decision that you want to, prepare for civil services again, then you should actually put in the efforts to back the decision up. It should not be just in your mind that, hey, I want to appear for civil services, and then you're not studying. So I mean, it's just that it's again you're just preparing yourself for failure. Once you decide, it should be backed up with the amount of effort that you should put.
Put an
And
action
if
as
you're
well.
not able to put in that effort as well, then you need to again objectively decide, hey, is this the sort of direction that I want to venture out or not, or maybe some other direction is there for me.
Right.
So this is usually happens when there is a lot of pressure on an aspirant. Like for example, a family is saying he or she is not interested, but there is a family pressure, or there is a pressure of peers. Everyone is doing UPSC, and so why not them? This should not be the considerations, right? After failing or in deciding to pursue civil services again. So this was my point.
So, Divyansh, I can see your learning has been discreet with respect to civil services exam. Outcome is evident, and we have seen it this time.
Mhm.
And with this clarity, with this objectivity in your approach, with this clarity in presentation, which is further going to be only increasing in future, I see your year 2021 the year for you. With respect to UPSC civil services, you get into coveted top 50. With Civilsdaily, we are going to cover up the areas. We're definitely going to help you with that as well. And thank you so much, Divyansh, for your time. And I'm sure that you'll be doing wonders in future as well. Now, if you ever have time, try to make or spare some time for our online aspirants who are there, who are looking to get some guidance directly from you. So we will try to conduct a webinar with you as well on any given
Sure.
Sunday, right?
Mhm.
I'll just expect that you'd be forthcoming with your suggestions there as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Divyansh, for your time. All the very best for UPSC 2021.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.